YouTube, Luck&Chuck back with another deck profile today, and who do we have?
It's your boy, it's Jack Fruge.
Alright, what you got for us today?
Alright, so, from my understanding, if you've been watching the Luck&Chuck channel, you'll see that there was me at the finals playing against Sprite. I was playing p.u.n.k goldpride, and there was some interest for the profile. Now, that list has been lost because that was pre-release of Legacy of Destruction, but I have an updated list from Legacy of Destruction that I think is better in every conceivable way than that original list, and that is what I'm going to be showing you.
Alright, that's what's up.
Yep.
Have you had any chance to use it yet?
Oh yeah, so I've used it at locals here and there. I managed to get top 3 at locals last night. That's where I got, Konami was doing the promotion for the new pins. I got one of those. I went 3rd place. Unfortunately, I lost in time, game 3 of my very last round. But this is one of those decks that has to play in time. But, you know, stuff happens, it's whatever.
And today we got goldpride p.u.n.k.
Alright, let's get into it. Alright, standard stuff. We have the 3 Zeoman. You know, you can't go without this card, because this card by itself equals your entire combo. After that, we just have the little one-ofs. We have the Sharakusai, the Fuse, the Synchro, we have the Wagon, and we have the Madam Spider. You're gonna cycle through all 3 of these. There might be a world where you want to play 2 of this, but I guess we don't live in that world just yet. But I do think the standard is you do have to play these 3. You do have to play the Zeoman at 3 because it's just the best normal summon in your deck. As for the other punks, we are playing 2 Deer Note, which was different than my other list. I originally only played 1, but the deck has increased its size. We're now at 50 cards instead of the original 40. So I think that playing 2 Deer Note is just so much better for the crackback. And I think drawing it at sometimes, or even adding it to your hand, really helps to fix some kind of weird hands that you might have. And then we'll round 3 Foxy 2, just because it is, again, 3 more copies of Zeoman, because Zeoman is the card that you need to see in your opening hand to make this deck work. And to round out for 3 more copies of Zeoman, we are playing 3 Ogre Dance. I was originally not playing Ogre Dance in my first build, just because I thought that it wasn't necessary at the time, because the deck was 40 cards. But as the deck size has increased, you do need to play this card. In fact, we are playing more copies of Zeoman in this deck than just the 3/3/3 here. That involves some very spicy tech, which we are going to see in 1 second, but that lines up the punks for the main deck. It's all extremely standard stuff, nothing too crazy. So let's get into the goldpride monsters. Alright, goldpride's 3 Leon, because he is objectively the best one. But the way we use him now is a lot different. Originally, you would be finding him during your combo, either by drawing it or searching it, but now we play a new style where you want to keep Leon in your deck until you can use the trap that you get off Captain Carry, which we are playing 2 copies of. You need to play a very specific type of game now, because these 2 cards create this really insane resource kind of fetch quest situation where you sit on the trap with Carry and you access Leon, and Leon brings back one of your 3 targets, which is Rollerballer, the brand new Eliminator, and Nitro Head. Now these are all for very different things. They all do very different things, very different matchups. You will usually be sending Rollerballer. The Fuse is just insane. Clearing a bunch of your opponent's monsters without them being able to really respond is very powerful. Nitro Head is very niche, especially now, but with Kashtira starting to gain more popularity again, I feel like he is necessary in the main deck, just because by himself, he is so powerful against that strategy. And Eliminator does not serve the biggest purpose. He's very good into decks that rely on spell traps, think Labyrinth or Runic, because he helps you consistently make Dragite, which is in our extra deck, because of him being a level 5 tuner. His ability to make a token does come in handy sometimes, but you really won't be using him for that. You'll mainly just be using them to, make Dragite or make some other random Synchro 8 plays that you might need in the heat of the moment. But, the gold pride list is relatively standard. I don't think there's ever going to be a world where you need to change these ratios unless we get a new piece of support at some point. But that's it for the gold prides, and we'll move on to the soft engine and then the hand traps. So I have two things of soft engine, which I think is Nyan Nyan and Snow Rabbit. So the argument to play this as the level 3 extender off of Jam Dragon Drive is, instead of playing like the level 3 tuner and non-tuner psychics that you can summon from your hand, is that this card plays under Droll and Lockbird, because Jam Dragon can just send this to the graveyard, and then during your normal combo, you're going to revive it. I just think this is the best level 3 extender. I don't like any of the others. I think Nyan Nyan just fits the spot too well. As for Snow Rabbit, this card is extremely good against Tempai, the new deck that just came out. Been kind of terrorizing the format lately. I think this card by itself is just so powerful against that deck, and the deck already searches it because it is a level 3 psychic that you can get off Jam Dragon Drive. So there will be situations where you're going to be finding this instead of maybe a p.u.n.k extender or maybe the Nyan Nyan. But that's all that. Let's get into hand traps. We are on 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Ash Blossom, and 3 Nibiru the Primal Being. So the theory behind playing these hand traps is that you want to play hand traps that are good going into your opponent's turn when you draw them on your turn. That's why we're not playing Infinite Impermanence, is because you can't draw that card during your end phase realistically and it'd be good going into your opponent because you won't have a clear board to use it. I think Veiler is extremely good in this position. That's why I think Ash and Nib are great. Nib has been a bit of an iffy card, but I do think that it's too powerful to not put in the main right now, because the gold pride board whittles itself down very heavily. It has to put in a lot of resources to interrupt your opponent. So no one ever expects that you whittle down your entire board and then they get nibbed right after they have to waste all their resources. And this deck has so much recursion that you will just instantly win on the crackback. But this hand trap lineup is very standard, very simple. All right, so we'll get into the engine spells, which is the only p.u.n.k spell we're playing is Jam Extreme Session. This card is Pot of Greed and a free extender. I just think it's absolutely mandatory to play because it's objectively the best p.u.n.k spell. And then onto the gold pride spells, we are running 1, The Crowd Goes Wild, and 2, Better Luck Next Time. So this card is not standard, even a little bit, because of the existence of this card. I think that in my testing and the matches that I've played, I feel like this card is necessary because this card helps you to fix hands that you would otherwise never be able to fix. And the fact that you're drawing so many cards and you're getting so deep into your deck before you access your gold pride engine means you're probably gonna find this without having to search it. So having a second target to search that extends your combos that can get you Nitro Head, which is a level 8 body that you may need, or a level 5 tuner in Eradicator. I just think it's so powerful to play it, especially in the build that I'm playing it in. That's all the engine spells. Now, we're gonna get into the soft engine spells, as I like to call them. 3 Itali, standard. You know, it's 3 more copies as Aomen. Now here's the heat, here's the spice. 3 copies of Dark Spirit Mastery. Every line of text on this card is irrelevant except the one that says add 1 level 8 fiend monster from your deck to your hand, which is the type and attribute of Ogre Dance. So for a discard, we have achieved 3 more copies of Zeoman. Keep in mind, the deck is 50 cards, so you need to find a copy of Zeoman in every starting hand, and playing this now means that you have an 85% chance of opening Zeoman in any hand. It's so extremely important to have copies of Zeoman to find, because the deck inherently will fall apart if you don't find one. That is why you're playing this. There's definitely an argument to play hand traps in this slot. I just prefer the consistency of playing more copies of Zeoman. Alright. Now we'll move into the non-engine spells. Small slots. 3 Cosmic and 2 Talents. Talents is just one of those cards where you don't need to play 3 of it, especially not in a deck like this, because it'll almost never come up. But sitting on it when you draw it, going into like a turn 3 scenario to help you push past some boards that they might build is very important. I like Cosmic in this deck because it turns on your gold prides while also hitting Snake Eyes and Tempai very hard. I absolutely think that you should be playing Cosmic in the main deck. Maybe not the Talents. I could see myself taking out the Talents, but I was very happy with this spread, especially with how often it came up when I was playing at locals. All right, we'll round out the main deck with the 2 traps, which is 1 Dangerous Gabu and 1 Start Your Engines. Gabu is infinite impermanence, which this deck absolutely strives. This deck needs monster negates and interaction, because this deck focuses a lot more on destruction than negating. And Start Your Engines is, I genuinely think, the most important card in the deck besides Zeoman, because this card makes you able to push through so many interactions and board states, and it interrupts your opponent so hard. Being able to pop a monster when they summon it and be able to summon Leon from your deck, fetch something from your graveyard that you may need, make big synchro plays. It's so powerful. It's so immensely powerful. I can't imagine a world where you don't play these 2 cards. All right. So that's it for the main deck. Let's go on to this extra deck, baby. So for the fusions, we're playing the 1 Rising Carp and the 1 Pinballer. These are very standard. Some lists may elect to not play this, but then you can't play the rest of the Punk package. But I feel like this deck strives with the full Punk package, so you do have to play this card. And of course, Pinballer is the most powerful interruption the deck can put up. Being able to just take a bunch of your opponent's monsters without them being able to respond is extremely powerful, and something that a lot of decks just can't deal with. Having the monsters destroyed, sure, but having them taken and put in the spell trap zone is incredibly, incredibly powerful. All right, we're on to the Xyz. We are playing 1 Chariot Carry. That is the only engine Xyz that we're playing. This is definitely the deck's most powerful searcher. Being able to find a spell and be able to dump a monster, setting up Leon later in the turn off of 2 level 3 bodies completely generically is just so powerful that you kind of have to play this card. There's been an argument I've seen to play 2 of this card actually, but I just don't think it's necessary, and the extra deck is so tight now that I just don't think you have to. So we'll get on to the other Xyz, which all essentially just equal Zeus. We are playing 1 Fortune Tune, 1 Downward Magician, 1 number 90, and the big boy himself. So these 3 cards are your Zeus line. Fortune Tune is just objectively the best rank 3 you could be making. It's untargetable, it can prevent itself from being destroyed, and Zeus is just so powerful because this deck has a hard time breaking boards going second. You really need these Xyz lines when you can't push past with Engine. And then we're playing number 90. This card is your only way to solidify yourself through Nibiru, but the deck can now very easily make this card as to when it couldn't really do so originally. So the deck doesn't lose to Nib that hard anymore because we've just found a way to interact with it. This card is extremely powerful, just a generic monster negate, not even just against Nib, but being able to negate stuff like Tempai Dragons, or being able to negate stuff like random Snake Eye cards. It's just, it's another layer of disruption that just makes boards harder to crack. Let's see, now we're on to the Synchros. For the p.u.n.k Synchros, we're just playing the standard 2. Jam Dragon and Amazing Dragon. So Jam Dragon is the cornerstone of most of your synchro plays because it leads to you getting your level 3s in your hand or in your grave that you may need for later. Its ability to recur itself is really nice, but the other most important thing about this card is that it is a level 8 body that you can use to overlay to make the number 90. Being able to, because usually this card is just like dead. This card will just kind of sit on your board, but being able to transfer it into anything else is just so powerful because then you don't have to sit on a vanilla. And then the one Amazing Dragon, this card really doesn't come up that often, but when it does, it is a blowout instant win. Being able to just bounce upwards of 5 of your opponent's cards on summon, and its recursion ability, being able to summon a p.u.n.k from the grave, is very nice going into a next turn scenario, bringing stuff back like Foxy Tune, or bringing stuff back like Deer Note. It's such a great piece of support for the deck, and I can't imagine a deck playing without it. For the gold prides, we're running both of them, surprisingly. The Star Leon and the Eradicator. So, Eradicator is the brand new one. The argument to play this card is very iffy because this card's applications are very niche. Being able to pop 2 is incredibly powerful, but only being able to target extra deck monsters kind of just isn't that great. But I like to keep it because there's a lot of rogue matchups you might go into where you just need to start clearing idiots off the board. Marine Cess is a very good example that I like to bring up. Because this deck didn't really do well against those kind of strategies until we got this card. And I think this card is a great level 8 that you can go into whenever you might lock yourself early, because there will be weird hands where that happens. And then Star Leon is Star Leon, you know? Pop a card, gain a bunch of attack. It's like a tiny pet. It's really nice. And then for the more generic synchros, we are playing Dragite. Obligatory spell trap negate. You're going to use this a lot in some of your spell trap based matchups, again, Labyrinth, Runic, stuff like that. And I miss you not. I have more often than not revealed Nibiru off of this card to get the bounce. It is insane when it comes up. And then we're playing the Psychic End Punisher. This is a great card to just push and OTK your opponent. And I also believe that you can end on this card in some weird hands, because decks like Snake Eye have such a hard time outing a really big Psychic End Punisher that you can realistically just pass on this and they can't do anything. Now, here's the spicy synchro that we're playing, that I don't see a lot of people playing, but I think it's really funny and I love playing it, is Trishula. So, most end boards will end on 2 copies of Carry on your board at the same time. So the theory is that you flip the trap card and you summon Leon. Leon's effect does lock you into gold prides, but not until he is successfully or unsuccessfully summoned. So you can use Leon's effect on summon and then chain his effect to synchro summon. And you can make Trishula while still getting back the roller baller that you sent to the grave earlier. So it's a huge jump scare because no one actually expects to get Trish dropped on them randomly for no reason. And this card has won me like dozens of games by itself. It is incredibly powerful, and I do think that this card should be experimented with in this deck. But its applications are niche, but when they come up, they are extremely important. So now we're on to the last card in the extra deck, which is the only Link I play, which is Donner, Dagger for Hire. This should be SP Little Knight. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. But Donner is a fine substitute. Its materials are a little more restrictive, but it accomplishes almost the same purpose, being able to clear one of your opponent's cards by tributing it. Just having the Link 2 body that's able to clear these sorts of things is extremely important for this deck because you'll need to be able to transfer your random gold prides that you have on your board, maybe going into turn 3, and you just need to force out something. It's incredibly useful. So that's it for the extra deck. Let's get the side deck. So, side deck, very standard stuff. 3 Droll and Logbird, because I just think it's the best hand trap that we're not playing in the main deck that you could be playing. This card's applications against rogue matchups are incredibly important. It shuts down a lot of rogue strategies. Not as much meta strategies, but I find that the engine is already good enough to beat rogue strategies, so we don't have to worry about it as often. For spells, I'm on 3 Herald of the Abyss, 2 Lightning Storm and a Duster, and 3 Droplet. This deck is full of 1-card combos, so you can afford to get rid of most of your hand if you need to break boards. This deck folds really hard to spell traps, so you need to be able to play outs to that. And you play Herald because this deck cannot realistically out-towers monsters, such as the new Raid Raptors that have just gotten support. So this card helps to clear those very, very well, because you can push past the rest of them, and you might be able to even OTK, making like a late pep, but you cannot realistically do it without clearing one of them first. So that's all the spells. Now we just have traps to go through for the last cards in the side deck. 2 D-Barrier and 1 Anti-Spell. I am toxic. There's no words. I'm toxic. I'm playing this card. This card is too good to not play. Even if it's just M1, I'm gonna be playing it. Sacking your opponent is the greatest feeling ever, and this won me multiple games. Because after your turn, you don't need spells anymore. You're fine, you're playing monster combo. So you can realistically play these. D-Barrier, I just don't think is great now. It's good in rogue matchups. I just don't think it's good against meta matchups right now. There's an argument to be playing this at 3 because of Tempai, but I just don't see, my deck does not struggle with Tempai, so I just haven't been in that situation yet. But yeah, that's it, baby.
Alright. Any shout outs you want to give for this list?
Oh baby, this one's all me. Concocting, sitting in my bedroom all night. But hey, it pays off.
Alright, cool. Well, thanks for the time, and hope to see you again.
Of course.